I have noticed there were some very important experiences I had when I was young, where having been enamored by my desire for a woman, at the time a girl, and I was still a boy, in the flower of my youth, not yet concerned with fruits. The fruit, as I was explaining to my friend, the fruit, once we concern ourselves with the fruits of our labor, we have already passed by the flowering spring of our youth. So when I was younger, I had had these multiple experiences where I've actually seen a woman, observed that a man was possessed by her. The image, he had some image, some conception of her to which was all consuming, and he couldn't control his behavior. And so she would exercise control over his behavior, because he had obviously surrendered it to her, by getting him in all kinds of trouble, asking him to, getting him jealous. That's one major one, is going out for an evening, flirting with another person to just get into a fight, and then getting into a fight with this other person, she felt so empowered that she was taken over by her own uh, joy in empowerment. And then I had also seen other couples come into a bar, and the woman and the man had an agreement. The man she already knew the man was uptight, had some aggressive tendencies that she didn't want to deal with. So she would go to somebody in the bar, start flirting with them, and then the boyfriend would come up, get all pissed off, and beat the guy up. And then they would go home together happy, because she had produced a situation in which he was possessed by his jealousy, released the pent-up tension and anxiety and aggression, and then they could go home and have a happy time, leaving the third party bloodied and beaten. Now, this scenario is very obviously shown to me in political strife, in international strife. And from my perspective, there are enough conflicts in relationship to meeting our needs with nature that our struggle with nature is enough to regulate and moderate us. However, we get pulled off of that track. Or we just don't realize it. So this morning was basically about having an experience within myself where I was going through my active imagination, and in this active imagination I was acting out my anger and frustration towards an actual other in my life. But then I do this in the mirror, and it reminds me that this is an inner struggle, it's not an outer struggle. And that the outer things manifest themselves from our inner experience, from our inner evaluations and our feelings. And they are removed, however slightly removed, from our outer experience. So our outer experience can cause in us, can seemingly be the prime cause of our behavior or our evaluations, but ultimately we need to take responsibility and accountability for our actions and our behaviors, and not just allow ourselves to be possessed by a spontaneous response. Sometimes those spontaneous responses are fine, And I would suspect those are with pleasurable experiences, but with anxious, angry, vengeful, resentful behaviors, we need to step back and observe, detach ourselves from them. Takes the magic out of them. So my friend, he's coming to terms with these ideas, but ultimately he has to go out into the world and test them. But then when he goes out into the world, his old behaviors and his old evaluations arise again. And I think this is the boon of long-term relationships, the boon of long-term committed relationships where you come home every day and to the same person, is that you come to terms with the fact that the way we relate to the world we can be reminded on a daily basis that we can have a different response than our established behavior. Yeah. Have a good day.